From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. First at 9 tonight, breaking news. A small plane has crashed just north of the Billings Airport. We don't know many details at this point, but this is a shot from our iCam of the airport. You can see how windy it is right there tonight. We do know that the control tower lost contact with that plane around 7 tonight. Emergency crews had been scouring the area behind the airport. They did locate that plane around 8:30. We do have crews on the scene working to find out more information. We'll bring you the very latest coming up on MTN 10 o'clock news on Q2. COVID numbers on the rise across the state and nation. Montana alone reporting more than 1,000 new cases of the coronavirus today. Along with those 1,063 new cases, MTN also reporting 21 new deaths. That brings the statewide death toll now to 386. 12 of those deaths are from Roosevelt County, 4 from here in Yellowstone, 2 each in Daniels and Carter. Now, there are now more than 32,000 total cases of the coronavirus in Montana. There have been more than 22,000 of those people have recovered. The only counties that currently do not have any new cases are Mineral and Petroleum. Well, in Laurel, first, third, and fourth grade students will be shifting to online learning beginning Monday, November 2nd. That move is for all third and fourth grade students at Graff School, but only for first graders at West School. According to a release from Laurel Public Schools, the change is being made due to a lack of staff and a shortage of substitutes. Classes will remain remote through at least Friday, November 13th. A Billings teenager is telling his incredible story after surviving a plane crash last summer. This is all that was left of that plane after it crashed into a mountain range in Madison County. Reef Hogan spent about a month in the hospital recovering following the crash that left his father, Brandon Hogan, dead.
We weren't high enough to recover from a stall like that. And my dad just said, "Reef, hold on." And I was like, I didn't say anything. I was like, oh God, I just thought that. And then he just said, "I love you, son." And I just said, "I love you too, Dad." And then all of a sudden the plane just dived into the right and then it just started spiraling. It was hard to tell what was going on. I kept my eyes open. I didn't really feel afraid. I was just like, well, it's happening now. I might as well just get through it.
Well, what Reef went through, not just with the crash, but waiting for hours to be rescued afterwards, is truly amazing. I'll bring you that full story Monday on Q2. The Billings Police Department in need of help from the public as the search for a missing woman continues. Amelia Brooks went missing in the evening hours of October 13th after last being seen at a residence in the 800 block of Caroline Street. The 22-year-old was last seen wearing a tan wool jacket and yoga pants. She's described as being 5 feet 1 inches tall, weighing 200 pounds. Detectives are looking for any information regarding the case and ask any residents near 800 Caroline to check their properties and outbuildings for anything unusual, as well as any surveillance video they may have from the night of October 13th. Anyone with information is asked to contact dispatch. That number is 657-8200. Well, Montana's next legislature won't be elected until next week, but Republicans are pretty much a lock to remain in the majority. And some GOP lawmakers have been drawing up their priorities, especially if they have a Republican governor for the first time in 16 years. MTN Chief Political Reporter Mike Dennison obtained a copy of some of those plans and files this report.
The draft plan has 7 pages of detailed proposals. Its top priorities include cutting the state's top income tax rate, using lodging taxes to help finance reductions in property taxes, expanding drug treatment courts, and restricting the power of local health boards and the governor to issue regulations on COVID-19. But it doesn't stop there. Some of its other proposals: ending Election Day voter registration, peeling back regulations on natural resource projects, a new tax on renewable power that's sold out of state, restricting abortion, and greatly expanding school choice, which would be some form of public aid or tax credits that help kids going to private schools or other alternative forms of education. State Representative Derek Skees of Kalispell, who helped draft some of the plans, told MTN News that Republicans want to hit the ground running and that the list is their way of getting prepared. He also says Republican lawmakers have been meeting with Republican gubernatorial candidate Greg Gianforte about their plans and that Skees doesn't see a lot of disagreement. Yet a spokesman for Gianforte says his priorities are outlined in his Montana comeback plan, which he released in July. Gianforte is locked in a tight battle with Democrat Mike Cooney for governor. Libertarian Lyman Bishop of Kalispell also is on the ballot for governor. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
The GOP legislative plans were drafted by the conservative wing of Republicans in the Montana House. Now, we've also learned that a bloc of more moderate Republicans is working on their own set of proposals as well. Across the state, more than 480,000 Montana voters have already cast their ballots. Here in Yellowstone County, we broke the record today. Yellowstone County Election Administrator Brett Rutherford tells Q2 the county has received 72,560 ballots, and this total tops the turnout for 2016, which saw 71,871 for the entire election. Registration and ballot replacement resumes on Monday at the Montana Pavilion at Metro Park at 8 a.m., but it closes at noon on Monday. That's in accordance with state law. It then reopens at 7 a.m. on Election Day Tuesday, and also on Election Day there will be expanded drop sites across the county. The only place to register or get a replacement ballot in Yellowstone County is at Metro Park. Well, COVID-19 and other changes have made this a unique election cycle in Montana. MTN's Jonathan Amberian talked to the Montana Secretary of State's office about the steps they're taking to get ready for Election Day.
Until election officials stop accepting ballots at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, the Montana Secretary of State's office says their top priority is making sure that people have the information they need on how to vote.
Needing to have their questions asked, last-minute things. Sometimes the voting offices are very busy, and ours is the next easiest number to contact.
The Secretary of State's website has updated information on where voters can drop off mail ballots and polling locations for those voting in person.
Doesn't matter if you're a polling place county or a mail ballot county, you will have places of deposit. Where do you go to the office to get in-person services?
The Secretary of State's office also hosts the My Voter page, which lets people know whether they're registered to vote, if they've been sent a ballot, and whether their mail ballot has been accepted, rejected, or not yet arrived. Once the ballot deadline passes, the office will shift its attention to the vote count.
On Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, our election night reporting software will wake up and start reporting results from the counties.
They'll be in regular contact with each county election office from the Capitol, working to resolve any technical issues with the vote totals. Officials say it's hard to predict how quickly the count could go. There's always the chance of mechanical problems, and there could still be impacts from COVID-19. Now, the Secretary of State's office isn't making any specific predictions yet about possible turnout, but it should be at least as high as recent presidential elections. They've also seen several thousand new voters registering in the last week. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
You can find a link to the My Voter page and the rest of the Secretary of State's election information on our website. Heading into the final weekend before Election Day, the presidential candidates focused on rallying voters in the Midwest. President Trump held events in Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and former Vice President Joe Biden made stops in Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota. CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry has more from the White House.
President Trump and Joe Biden attacked each other once again over the coronavirus pandemic.
Biden wants to keep everyone locked up. I'm not going to shut down the economy. I'm going to shut down the virus.
As new cases rise in nearly every state, the president promised a vaccine in a matter of weeks. But his rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin was under fire before it even started, as the local hospital system warned it was a bad idea. The city has one of the highest infection rates in the country. At a drive-in rally in Des Moines, Iowa, the former vice president vowed to restore unity to the nation.
Honky, we want America to be united again. We cannot afford 4 more years of Donald Trump.
The president tried to present his Democratic challenger as lax on law and order.
During one of the debates, I said, hey, Joe, say the words law and order. Can you do it? He wouldn't do it because he didn't want to lose the radical left.
Early voting is continuing across the U.S. with more than 83 million ballots already cast. More than 9 million Texans voted early, surpassing the state's total vote from the 2016 presidential election.
We have the opportunity to change how things are going in our country with our vote. I think that's a big thing for me and a big thing for my friends as well.
And early voting operations around Los Angeles expanded to include sports venues like Dodger Stadium. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
In Minnesota, President Trump addressed a considerably smaller crowd tonight. The state capped the number of attendees to prevent further spread of the virus. Well, members of the Yellowstone County Continuum of Care found a new way to provide shelter and a place to quarantine for the homeless population of Billings. Q2's Shaquille Cozart talks to two people involved with the creation of the Off the Streets shelter.
I'm here at 3311 2nd Avenue North Street, where the once Western Inn Motel has been converted into a winter emergency shelter for the homeless and also a quarantine and isolation facility. I spoke with two people that are involved with the program to see how it all came about.
This really came about as an emergency response. That we've known for years that we've needed a low barrier shelter, but through COVID, it's just escalated so much. We've seen so much increase in the homeless, so much concerns with downtown businesses, with so many different areas. So the Continuum of Care came together and said, we have to do something right now.
And what they did was create the off-street shelter. The shelter will be open from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for those that are homeless and need shelter for the night. For those that are in quarantine and isolation, the shelter will be open 24/7, and it will be staffed at those times and secured. Organizers say the shelter will not be a replacement for the men's and women's shelter that is currently in Billings. However, it will allow people that are not able to get into those two shelters for various reasons to have a place to stay at night and to isolate.
We're really hoping that we can get folks in, get them off the street, and then provide services for them so that they move right from their shelter right into more permanent housing.
And if you're wondering about cleaning, Bartle says that a company that specializes in deep cleaning after COVID will be coming out and cleaning each room after guests leave. In Billings, Shaquille Cozart, MTN News.
Organizers say that this is a short-term, 12-month solution to emergency shelter needs as a result of the pandemic. Still ahead on the MTN 9 o'clock news, the FBI says cyber crimes have gone up 400% during this pandemic across all avenues, including hitting our own Jay Cohn. That story coming up in a little bit. But first, Bob McGuire's in with your full 7-day forecast next.